My name is Jeff Struecker. We are Two Cities Church, and I just want to thank you for tuning in to this midweek broadcast. This midweek broadcast is subtitled Family Bible Training, because this is an opportunity for parents to gather their family around the television or around the tablet right now and to have a conversation about God, a conversation about the Bible, a conversation about your faith. Parents, we are really passionate about helping you learn how you can hand your faith off to your children so that they will believe what you believe, but not because you believe it. They will believe it because they're convinced that it's true. So this midweek service that we do is specifically designed for you, parents. It gives you an opportunity to come together as a family, to gather around the tablet or the television, and to talk about what you believe and why you believe it. We have been studying through the 10 Commandments. We've been studying through Jesus's top 2 commandments, his greatest commandment and the second greatest commandment. And then last week, at the end of the year 2020, we looked at John 14:15, where Jesus said, "If you love me, you'll keep my commandments." We learned about God's rules, the commandments, why those commandments exist, and how we show God our love by keeping those commandments. So tonight, we start an entirely new section of teaching. We're going to teach about the word revelation. No, not the last book in the Bible, Revelation. We're going to teach on the topic of revelation. What does the word revelation really mean? Each week, parents, we give you a Bible verse to memorize. Tonight, we're going to give you a verse and a half, 1.5 Bible verses to memorize. This isn't just for your children to memorize. This is actually a spiritual discipline that your whole family can do. So maybe this week, you and your entire family would gather together and you would memorize Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. And maybe around the dinner table, parents, you would ask your children to recite this verse from memory. Maybe you would recite it from memory for them. If you want to share your children memorizing the Bible with some friends and family that don't live close by, we've created a closed Facebook group. The details are right below me in the notes to this post on social media, and you're welcome to record a video of your family memorizing the Bible and then just share that video with family or friends that live far away. It's a closed group so that creepers on the internet can't get access to you or to your children. But this is an opportunity for you to record your family memorizing Scripture, putting it in their heart, memorizing it, and you can share that with friends and family that live far away. Tonight, we're going to talk about what it means that our God is a God who reveals himself. I'm here in nature to illustrate this. In fact, if I were to step behind this tree, you can't see me right now, can you? When I step out from behind the tree, you can see me. Many other religions out there have the view that our God is so far away, that he's some distant deity that doesn't know, doesn't care about what's happening in people's lives, and doesn't reveal himself, that you can't really know who God is. That's not what the Bible tells us about God. In fact, the very first words in the Bible is, "In the beginning, God created." By creating itself, by the act of creation, God is revealing something about who he is and what he's like. But I want to point to a very specific passage in the Bible about how God reveals himself. I need you to understand that God is not so distant and so far away that he doesn't know about what's going on in your life, that he doesn't care what's going on in your life. Rather, God knows what's happening with every person on the planet. That's part of what it looks like to be God. He can know what's happening with everybody all over the planet. More importantly, God not only knows what's happening, but He cares about what's happening with everybody all over the planet, which means God cares about what's happening to you. And one of the ways that we know God knows and that we know God cares is that He is willing to reveal Himself to us. He reveals Himself in different ways. In fact, we're going to memorize from the Bible how He reveals Himself. Hebrews chapter 1 describes how God reveals Himself. So what we're going to do is we're going to say Hebrews, where these verses are found in the Bible. We're going to recite these verses out loud, and then we're going to say one more time where they're found in the Bible. Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 say this: Long ago, God spoke to our ancestors by the prophets at different times and in different ways. In these last days, He has spoken to us by His Son. Hebrews 1, 1 and 2. Did you notice what the Bible just said? God has been in the habit of speaking for many thousands of years. God spoke in the Old Testament when He showed up and gave dreams to the church fathers, when He gave visions to the prophets, and then He sent His prophets to go speak to the people, and it was literally God speaking to the people through His prophets. But did you also notice that the Bible tells us that in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2, God still speaks. In fact, God speaks in a much more powerful and also a much more personal way today. Because God chooses to reveal Himself not by the clouds in the sky, not by the stars at night, not just by the beautiful mountain views and this amazing creation. Those things do reveal how awesome our God is. No, God has chosen to reveal Himself by coming personally in the flesh. He reveals Himself through His Son. What the Bible is really saying here is if you want to know who God is, if you want to know what God is like, you don't have to go hunting and searching for it. All you need to do is look to Jesus. And the more that you understand Jesus, the more that you understand who God is. Because God has revealed Himself totally and completely to humanity through His Son Jesus. That's a God who knows you and a God who loves you so much that He would leave heaven and come to earth and dwell physically on earth to reveal Himself to you. And now what I want to do is to help drive this idea home. So parents, I've got a couple of little exercises for you to do with your children right now. One exercise for you to do with your young children, and then an exercise for you to do with your older children. Here's something that you can do with your young ones tonight. Maybe while you're preparing dinner tonight, or maybe you've already had dinner, maybe you can do this tomorrow night. Ask your little ones, your elementary age children, to help prepare dinner with you. And then as you're getting ready to open a package for dinner or open a can for dinner, ask them to go ahead and open that can for you. But before they open it, ask them this question: how do you know what's inside that package? How do you know what's inside the can? Sure, the wrapper has a label or it has a picture about what's supposed to be inside the package. But how do you know that's really inside the package? You see, Jesus is really the can that shows us what God is like. And Jesus demonstrates who God is and what God is like. So if you want to know God, it's all you have to do is just simply look to Jesus. When you open a can of food tonight or tomorrow night, when you open a package for dinner, I want you to teach your children God has revealed Himself, so that when you open up the Bible and you learn about Jesus, you really are learning about God. But here's an exercise that you teens can do. You can do this with mom or dad, or maybe you can just do this on your own. Teens, why don't you just think about it for a second? And can you think of a way that God has revealed Himself to you? this past week, very specifically revealed something about you, about himself to you. Maybe he did it through a friend. Maybe he did it through a sermon. Maybe he did it as you were studying the Bible. Maybe you were praying and God revealed something about himself to you. Maybe he did it through the circumstances of life and God just showed something to you about himself and about you this past week. But if you were really honest, maybe you would have to say, you know what? I'm thinking about it and I can't think of a way that God has revealed himself to me. And maybe this coming week, you would pursue God, you would look for God, you would look for ways that you can experience who he is and ask God to reveal himself to you through very simple ways. Hey, tonight's been all about the God who loves you enough that he would be willing to make himself known to you, to reveal himself to you. That's the God that we serve. I hope you have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll see you next week. God bless.